we'll just kind of keep this the same here. And I think it was in pipe 7.
Pipe 7.
That's catchment area 7, so pipe, this one down at the downstream end was 450. So I'll just go ahead and manually change this to 450 here for the purposes of this. Another change that I'll just make to this demonstration is I'll go ahead and just add an element that doesn't exist right now in Civil 3D. So basically in those, and what I mean by that, in Civil 3D pipe networks, you basically have structures and you have your pipes, and that's kind of the two elements that make up a Civil 3D pipe network. But obviously in your drainage design and in the modeling aspect of your drainage design, there's a lot more components than that. So you could have open channels, you can have, of course, your stormwater controls. Those don't actually exist in Civil 3D right now. Those don't exist as like smart objects, but what we can do is see how it does still, with the ultimate version of InfoDrainage, it will still transfer over to Civil 3D, but it's just going to, we can add something in here to make it look and just show what it looks like when you do bring it back to Civil 3D. So what I did here on this manual is I just changed it to a pond template. If I add outline, I can start to kind of digitize what a pond down here might look like. This is my lovely pond in a funny little shape. And if I go into this pond, I can start to enter kind of some of those criteria and those sizings. Again, this is just really preliminary, so what I'm just going to do is enter in a side slope here, just to kind of give it a little more natural of an appearance. So you can see my bottom of pond outline, my top of pond outline. I think the other thing that I'll need to do in here is add a Manning's value in this for it to run.
And that's another element that's true to size.
Yep, another element that's true to size, and we'll come back to Civil 3D true to size as well. Okay, so we've made a couple changes, and we can send this back to Civil 3D now. So first thing we will want to do before trying to do that, Civil 3D will get mad if you try to bring back in an invalid file. So basically we'll just need to validate this model here first. It's saying I don't have rainfall criteria selected, so I'll just click that.
Great. That is a feature that you have in InfoDrainage that we don't have in Storm and Sanitary, is being able to check it before you actually run the design. In SSA, you have to run it before you know why it won't run it. It's, yeah, I like this.
Yeah, yeah, and it's nice where if you just click on it directly from this menu, it just opens up the pop-up where you can make those changes rather than kind of getting a warning and then having to go back and try to figure out where exactly that change is. Obviously, rainfall data adding rainfall data is a pretty obvious error, like you're going to know where to look, but can be nice for more specific errors that you might be having.
And something we won't touch on today, but another feature that I think is pretty cool that I think goes in line with that is when you're validating it, it's validating to make sure, is this an engineering sound design? You know, do we have pipes that are running out of the ground? Are we forgetting rainfall? But then there's also the audit reporting that you can plug in specific standards for velocity, depth, all of that. So kind of diving into that design and analysis a little bit more. There are a lot of really cool checks and balances in there. So always just like to touch on that one.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome.
All right, so let's send this back to Civil 3D. So I'll save this, I'll close it, then we'll open, it was this file, right?
Oh yeah.
Where it started from?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, and actually, do you need me to get out of it?
That would be great.
There we
I
go.
can tell that it's locked.
Version locking.
There we go. There we go.
Live
Let's
and
see
in person.
how quickly it unlocks.
Yeah.
Because we're on 2 different computers.
While that's happening, we do have a first question.
Oh,
right.
So it says the minimizing excavation options does not have a description of the methodology of the help file because it's a newer feature. Is there any documentation currently, or is that kind of, you said a video was coming out? Do you think that will kind of follow adding to the help file and that information?
Yeah, if it's not in the help file right now, I can only expect that it's coming, and it should be out there since it is out in the wild and you want to be able to look at that design logic. But that's helpful for me to know, and I'll definitely talk to the people I need to talk to about getting that documentation out there. But kind of an overview, or yeah, like I mentioned, just kind of a basic summary, where the minimized pipe diameter is going to just try to make like the like the smallest pipes possible. To convey that same amount of flow, it might decrease those slopes, which you might end up with deeper pipes kind of at that downstream end. And so what the minimized excavation option will do is just try to keep everything shallower and upsize the pipes to convey the flow rather than making them steeper and therefore deeper. So you can just choose between them. But hopefully there'll be some more documentation coming out. And like Hunter mentioned, there's going to be that workflow video that should come out on our YouTube channel next week. All right, so has this unlocked yet for me?
Oh,
Yeah, oh yes, it did. It's the other one. That's
Yeah.
Okay, great. So now I will open this file.
while you were working, I did freeze a few layers, so that's why it
Okay.
looks different now that you've opened it.
Got it. Cool. And so now we'll just do that where we exported it before. We'll do this import option here. Import from InfoDrainage.
For those with a bingo card, we've now used all three of the buttons.
I know, yeah, exactly.
And so I'll navigate to that InfoDrainage file that we just created. Step through a similar process. Here it's asking us like which surface we want to use. Because we didn't export that surface, we are just going to use the existing Civil 3D surface that's already in this drawing. And then we'll do that part mapping process again. So you can see that 375 millimeter pipe is recognized here in that mapping updated, but we now have that 450 millimeter pipe. And so there's this field here. We'll just need to go ahead and populate that. 50. Our junctions, we didn't change anything. It's like I didn't actually I didn't load our template file here, so I'm just gonna manually do this. But I could save this mapping as a template. And then we'll press finish and go ahead and take a look at what this updated pipe network looks like. All right. That's okay. So you can see, here's that pond that kind of just got dumped down here, my funny looking pond. But basically what this came in as is its own surface. It comes in with that top of pond feature line and a bottom of pond feature line. So you still get the 3D representation of what this is. It's just not called a pond in a Civil 3D pipe network because that's not an object. And if I go down to this button here, we can see that this pipe has been updated to that 450 millimeter pipe. And I do still have my catchments in here that are maintained to those different references. And so this should be ready to go.